are here.
Well, I know I'm here.
I am never all here. I'm usually some of the way here. Less so today. Today's going to be interesting. But we're going to, move forward as if we're sure that we're here. 100% positive. Definitely here. Hello.
Hi.
Kayla Lords.
John Brownstone.
Of Loving BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have happy, healthy power exchange relationships. This is our weekly live stream. We'll record our podcast, the audio version of which hits all major podcast apps every Friday, especially since I now seem to have corrected a problem I didn't know was happening. We are here 7 minutes early. If you are here for the live stream and you do not like idle chit chat, you got a few minutes to do what needs doing. If you are here after the live stream, but before I put in timestamps and you do not like idle chit chat, fast forward by at least 7 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Spock, for validating my existence, and hello. Hi, Pinky. Hi, Kitty. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Claire. Hi, Mr. Spock. Hi, Rara. Hi, DS Bunny. Hi, Enchanted Wings. We're here.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Against all odds.
Odds like a whiny dog and dinner. Sure, but against all odds. Hey. We toughed it out, and we got here.
That's right. We did.
We did. I have already figured out from recording the video that will go out on Monday and doing the podcast audio intro that... I've been having what I always call them bad brain weeks. It's executive dysfunction. I know what it is. I don't know why it is, but I know what it is. And I forget that what comes along with that is an inability to modulate my own way of speaking. When I was younger, it was volume, which still does happen sometimes. But these days, it's speed. And so what has been happening with all of the recording that we've been doing is that I've been so worried about getting my thought out before it drifts off into the ether and I forget it, that I forget to take a breath, or I'm afraid to take a breath. Not sure. And so I speak, and then I'm gasping for breath. So that's going to be fun for what I know is a gigantic topic for today.
Yeah.
Yay. Hi, Bad Cat. Oh, it is late in Jenna Wings. I mean, if you're just back from work, I guess you would probably be used to the lateness, but that's late. That's I've been in bed for an hour kind of late. That's late. That's so late.
And yet it worked out perfectly for them to be here.
That's true. And we appreciate that. So what you got for the butt rub? That's what this part is called if you're new here.
I don't know.
Rah, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, we hate that you're going to have to leave after an hour, but to be part of an event at the Woodshed, that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Hope you have a great time while you're there. I look forward to a time in life when we can go and do those things.
When we can see it, yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
There's a thing that I want to tell y'all all about, and I can't. I had to tell the podcast folks because they won't hear till Friday. And if you follow us in other places other than YouTube, you will find out tomorrow on Thursday. But I don't get to tell you about it right now. Makes me sad. If you're on our email list, you'll hear about it bright and early Thursday morning, at least our time zone. If you follow us on FetLife, Instagram, we'll post it there. But so that's killing me to not be able to tell y'all. I will post in the community tab here on YouTube, but the whole world don't look at the community tab. I actually... did we get stuck again? That again. Oh, gosh. Okay, now we have excellent connection. There we go.
All right.
We're back, as far as we can tell.
Yeah, I'm tired of looking at that goofy look on my face. There we go.
And look, before we hit the go live button. We clicked all the buttons that are supposed
did
to
all the
prevent the
things.
freezing.
Yep.
We did the things. But this is why we get here early. If anybody's ever new and feeling snarky and why are you here so damn early? This is why. Do you know what that would do to my flow if we were in the middle of content? I think it's happened in the past, and it fucks
has.
with my flow so bad. Like, if I can manage to not only have a thought, but hold on to it long enough to express it out loud where others can hear, disruptions just screw all that up. Just screw all that up. Yeah. But as far as we know, we're here.
Yeah.
Says we have excellent connection again.
I see us here on the Doodle-Ollie.
And this is why I took half a day of work off. This way, this right here is what I did. And I sat on the couch and I watched some YouTube videos and then I read my book. And I'm going to finish this book because it's the last hour of the reading time of the book, of the last book in an 8-book series. I will finish this book, but man, I feel like I'm pulling teeth.
Wow.
I don't know. It could be me that I've lost interest, but also as I'm reading it, I'm like, I feel like you've over-explained this. One of the tensions in the book is that our main protagonist seemingly will have to sacrifice herself to save the entire world. And she's got 5 fated mates and they're like, and she hasn't told them this whole book what she figured out. And so there's been a shit ton of angst. And I've gotten to the point where I'm like, girl, just tell them. I'm at the part of the book where they found out because that was inevitable. Of course they were going to find out. But now it's going back and forth between no data and excellent connection. What is happening here? So it's 7:00. I feel like we better start now while we still can before things decide to whatever.
Hello, everyone. Glad
There
to
we
have
go.
you here and happy you can join us.
DS Bunny, I do not remember the name of the series, but I believe the author is named Gray Holborn, Holborn, I believe is their last name. The series was really good. There's it's romance and there's good sexy stuff and whatever, but this last hour of this last book of the series is killing me. Okay. So, as you can tell from the title, we're going to talk about a massive topic today, and that is consent in power exchange. If you enjoy this while we're trying to do that, we love a thumbs up. If you like it enough to want to come back for more, please consider subscribing.
And go ahead and ring that notification bell to get updates and new content.
Just do what Daddy says. And if you really like what we do, want to help us keep doing it, and get stuff you can't get anywhere else, you can join us on Patreon. Patreon.com/KaylaLords. The link is down below. We do an extra live stream a month. We have a behind-the-scenes podcast. We do an exclusive video, and we have a Discord server. And you get that even when you join at the lowest level at $2 a month. You get all of that. If you pay more, you'll get a couple more perks, but you can get a lot for just $2 a month. So that's our Patreon. That's all for this part. You can click the button, and then we can do the other parts.
Okay. And hello and welcome, LB.
Okay, so before we get into the topic, am I procrastinating? Maybe a little bit. Because it's a big one, and of course, I always want to do it justice. Anyway, we got notes. It'll be fine. We are once again sponsored by us, partly because it fits with this series, partly because I'm very proud of a thing I've been doing. Loving BDSM Etsy shop has air quote, because we are it, and it is we, and it's all one. Air quotes sponsored us.
And we are all together.
Exactly. There's a good chance we're all just voices in my head, but we're not going to look too closely at that. Specifically for the purposes of hi y'all, we love y'all. We have our 30 Days of DS workbooks, which are for folks who know they're kinky, know they want a power exchange, even if you're not in one right now. So that's the reason I'm going to mention the Loving BDSM Etsy shop, but also a second thing that I've been doing and that I've been really excited to do, so I'll keep doing it, until the dopamine runs out. I've been making printable coloring books featuring some kinksters, including my own favorite phrases in our relationship. I would say, yes, Daddy. And he would call me good
girl.
Right. And so the coloring books are different honorifics. So, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, good boy, good bunny, good. Oh, and I'm already done the second one, and I'm adding in different honorifics, and very excited. I was supposed to make another one today, and it was a bad brain day. So check us out. Check out our Etsy shop. It's where we do all of our workbooks. We've got planner sheets. We've got coloring books now. We've got other fun stuff. So we sponsored again this week. Okay. This topic, consent. In power exchange specifically, because consent is a given everywhere. It's supposed to be understood for everything. In kink, it is like one of the most important tenets. The other most important tenet being communication. Power exchange, there should be consent in all aspects, but sometimes you're in a casual pick-up play top-bottom situation, and that there's a conversation about consent to have there, but we focus on power exchange, so that's where this conversation is focusing. That does not mean that consent in other parts of BDSM are not important. They are, but this is our focus. So the thing with consent is we've been talking about it for literal years. Our first episode on consent is episode 30. So this is a higher level look as part of our Back to Basics series to just sort of reminders for some folks, some major things to think about in terms of consent. But there's so much more to be said about consent that if you're like, yeah, but I have questions, or but I want to think more deeply, or but what about this, or whatever, I have linked to all the places we have talked about consent, both in the description box on YouTube and the show notes page for podcast listeners. So especially the deep archive stuff. Just to give you a little rundown, episode 30, episode 115, episode 182, episode 190, mini-sode 54, and episode 380. And that is not including all the times and just other topics where consent comes up. So we've talked about it. And in an effort for this not to be a 10-hour episode, we're going to try and hit high-level points and things that are good to remember if it's been a while since you've been in a power exchange, or if you've been in your power exchange for a very long time and you just don't think about these things as deeply anymore because it's kind of part of your routine, that kind of stuff. So let's, and we've got notes and bullet points, and JB is on the same page. I'm not springing any of this on him.
No.
So we're going to start with what I kind of call the gold standard of what consent is. And that is informed and enthusiastic. If it ain't informed and enthusiastic, it's probably not a good idea. My thought is in power exchange, like baby relationships that you just started like 5 minutes ago, if it's not informed and enthusiastic is a hell fuck yeah. Slow your roll, because you're not there to the nuances of what consent can look like that we're going to get into in this episode. So let's talk about informed and enthusiastic consent.
Okay.
What are your thoughts, Daddy? Podcast listeners, you can't see it, but he's just looking at me like, okay, let's talk about it. Okay, go ahead.
Oh
my Lord.
I didn't give you consent to do that.
To have you participate in the podcast that's 50% yours?
No. Consent is extremely important, especially informed consent. It's very important to know what you are doing and what you are getting into. And
what the plan is, and what the plan is if the plan goes to shit, and how things are going to work. Informed is we could probably do an entire episode on just what informed might mean.
Yeah.
Because it's not, there's what your power exchange is going to look like ideally, right? That's the thing you negotiate. But then there's the day-to-day stuff. So in power exchange specifically, we have routines and I have tasks and rules and things I do daily. And I know what those things are. The things I didn't know how to do when we started, you taught me. That's part of being informed. The other half of being informed is if I have a set of rules and routines that I have to follow, and there's going to be something that gets in the way, my job is to let JB know, I'm struggling to do this. I might not be able to do this. This is going to be delayed. I literally cannot, because if I don't do that, what it looks like is I just didn't do the thing I agreed to do, instead of explaining what the hell's going on with me. So being informed goes both ways, as often and as much as possible.
Yeah. And, I think that's why, many years ago I used to believe in the safe, sane, consensual.
Sure. It was the old gold standard for
right.
long time ago.
These days, I'm more along the lines of risk-aware consensual kink,
and that's evolved a couple more times.
And there's even more, a couple things that that are now a little different. But you need to be fully informed of, not just the fun stuff that's going to happen during a scene, but you need to know about the bad stuff that could happen.
Right, exactly.
Because if you don't know all that, you cannot give truly full consent.
Right. And the thing is you can't plan for every single possible bad thing that can happen.
No.
But by never having the conversation, then you're not planning for even the most common things that could go wrong.
Right.
As a small-ish example, when it comes to using a new impact play toy, we have a pretty solid method that we recommend for others. There can be variations to this, but essentially, before JB comes at my ass with a paddle and wallops me till I'm crying, it goes a little bit like this. He picks it up, he holds it to get the weight so he knows what he's holding. He hits it against his palm to get an idea of the weight. He hits it against his forearm. He'll probably hit it against the back of his own thigh. Then he's coming to me, and if it's a brand new sensation, he might do my arm or the top of my leg first, just to kind of give me a sense of it. And this is after years of impact play together. And then he's going to do like a light swat on my ass. Now, if he's pretty sure, like this is a thing we've played with before, it's just slightly different, he'll probably go harder because it has been over a decade. But we're going to go through that process with every single new type of toy we try, if we've never played with it before, the material, the style, the whatever, because informed means he has an idea of what it's probably going to feel like. I get to have an idea of what it feels like before we're truly playing with it, and then we're going to play with it, and then we're actually going to go slowly into that play and build up, so that at any point I'm giving feedback of, that's beyond my limit right there. That thing you just did, nope, that's your step too far. Back it on up, pull it in a little bit, and that's what informed looks like. And it means that you have a lot of conversations. That's, we did I think we did an episode ages ago, or we did something where we talk about what we consider our only two rules of BDSM in general, and that's communication and consent, because you cannot have consent without full communication, right? And informed means, and this is a sticky one for folks, you do not have to give up your secrets to anybody. You get to have things that you keep private. That being said, if there are things that you are aware could be triggers for you, certain ways of being talked to, certain words used, certain ways and types and experiences with sensations, you have to tell the partner who's about to wail on you, yell at you, or otherwise call you names, that you have those triggers. You don't have to go into all your details about it. You don't have to bare your soul unless y'all are at that point in your relationship. But you've got to inform your partner. Why? Because your dom/top needs to be informed about these things so they make better decisions to keep everybody safe, right? So informed is very big, very broad. You cannot talk enough in a power exchange, especially in the early days.
Right.
You can get to a point, and we are mostly there, where you can get into shorthand, or you can go, you remember that
Yeah.
thing? And you know what each other's talking about, but you can also get so comfortable that it's real easy to give feedback in the middle of a moment. Like, we can be having a scene, and if something don't land right, I'm going to raise that.
She's going to let me know.
Right, like, yeah, I'm in my headspace, but also, nope, that wasn't it. You adjust, please, right?
Yeah.
You can get there, but that takes time. That takes trust. That takes, knowing one another. That just takes the experience with one another. And for some folks, you might never get there. Sometimes it's because of the relationship. Sometimes it's because stuff you've been through, stuff they've been through. Sometimes it's just your own, what's the word I want? Your, the level of risk you're willing to take. I am a very anxious person. In my mind, I've got like 100-step routine before I am comfortable with a new thing. Like, there's so much stuff I got to know and think about and read through and learn from before I can go, yeah, I'm sort of comfortable with this, right? Some people are worse than me. Some people aren't as bad, right? However you're wired, you've got to honor that and go through whatever those steps are, whatever those assurances are, until you're comfortable, until you feel informed. It's another thing we always say, start slow. It's like a slow and low thing with power exchange and kink. You don't come out of the gate like whipping somebody around, smacking them full on the face when you just decided yesterday impact play might be your jam. Like, you start small. You start with this thing and that thing, because part of being informed is trying it out on a low,
excuse me,
air quote this word, there's no such thing as safe in BDSM, but air quote safe way, so it's easier to pull back if the information you're getting through the experience is that this does not work for you. When you try to go full on out, straight out the gate, we've negotiated a 20-page contract with 32 and a half items that the submissive will do before noon every day. And you decide that on a Friday, and on Saturday think you're implementing the entire 20-page contract. Nobody is informed enough to do that yet. I don't care what kind of conversations you have, because part of the getting the information, the informed part of informed and enthusiastic consent, is knowing what the fuck you're getting into. Yeah. So, you can talk it through. You can research it. Please do. That's part of getting informed with your informed consent. Right. And then part of it is to start really small and tiny to get informed through experience. Yeah. Let's talk about enthusiasm.
Okay.
Or unless you have some more to say about informed.
I just want to talk about the polar opposite of this for a brief second. Okay, because I have been coming across this a lot lately in places that I have been perusing. No is a complete sentence.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. You can tell somebody no. You do not owe them an explanation. Okay? You do not. Just the fact that you said no to them, more than enough. That should be it.
And if you're in a kink space and you happen to be a submissive, and a rando air quote dom rocks up to you, DMs at the event, whatever, comments on one of your posts, whatever they're doing, and tries to tell you that actually, because they're a dom and you're a submissive, you don't get to do that. Hell fuck no. Okay? There are no automatic rights just because of the roles you inhabit, right? That's within established relationships, and that's with strangers you're meeting on the internet. Like, they don't have a right to you because they're calling themselves a dom, and you are like over there and you're like, I'm a submissive, I can do that. And the same is true on the opposite, because there are many of them women, but many doms who get the laundry list of do this to me DMs from submissives who just see them as a kink dispenser. It tends to be a lot more accepted when a dominant goes, fuck no, because you sort of expect that kind of response from a disgruntled dominant. But, submissives, if y'all need a test of whether this is like a dom who respects you, first of all, if they're demanding submission from you before they even know anything about you and have had the first, 80 conversations, that's a sign. But if maybe you're playing with some online like role play or whatever, the biggest sign is, can they handle your no? Can they handle when you're like, nope, I'm not doing this. Nope, I don't like this. Nope, I don't accept this. Online, we can block and delete. Please do.
Yeah.
Like, there was a word I wanted. Liberally block and delete all the fuckers. Just block and delete them all. Okay, you have no obligation to anybody. In real life, you might have to get a real person involved if somebody's being kind of creepy, and like maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a community leader, but you get somebody and you're like, this fucker won't leave me alone. What are we gonna do about that, right? But yeah, I agree. Now, as a relationship develops, at this point, all these years later, I have every right to tell JB no, and it be a full sentence.
Yeah.
But my regard for our relationship and our connection, as soon as I am able to explain, I'm going to explain. It's entirely possible to get, and I don't use this term lightly, to get triggered by something. So the only thing I am capable of saying is no. But when I am more myself again and have the ability to communicate my thoughts and what's going on with me, the nature of our relationship at this point in time, he gets an explanation from me. That's a thing that I freely and willingly will give him, because in my mind he deserves that. One, that's more information for him later on when we're trying to do other things, because the more informed he is, the more he can provide things that I can consent to, and he can consent to things that I need, right? If I keep him in the dark about stuff, then he's not working with full information. But he earned that right to know why I might say no to something. So far, in at least 10 years, probably longer, probably since we started our long-distance relationship, I've never felt like I couldn't tell you why.
True.
Quite frankly, if you're dealing with somebody who so far they're checking all the boxes and you're like, okay, this person seems like a legit person, but you get to the point where you have to tell them no, and something in you does not feel comfortable telling them why it's a no, that doesn't mean that automatically means anything, but it is worth a deeper look. Are they not really earning your trust the way you need them to? Is there something that you're sensing that's holding you back? That's good information to have.
Yeah.
But I felt safe with JB soon enough that by the time we were actually negotiating the power exchange, if I had to say no, I could tell him why. Even if sometimes the answer was, I don't know why, but it's bad juju, bad vibe, the answer's no.
You know, early on in our relationship, one of the things I had her do, because, you know, I had a few years in the lifestyle, you know, over you.
Sure.
You just had the one dynamic. I was very big on having her research things, you know, and a couple times in the beginning, you were kind of like, well, you know, what do you want me to do? Why do you want me to look into this? I'm a sub. I'm not dom. And
it would be about activities we wanted to do, or things we had kinks we had kind of talked about.
But you know, what I told you about that, it was like, you know, whether we end up together or what, if you go on, you need to be educated enough to know if somebody's blowing smoke up your ass.
Right. And it was when we were talking about types of play we might want to do, different sensations, toys. He'd be like, have you heard of this toy? I'd be like, no, I have no idea what that toy is. He's like, okay, well, your task for like by the end of this week, go do some research and write me a paragraph on it to sort of show that I understood what I had seen and that I had actually looked at it. Now, writing a paragraph was a good task for me because I'm a writer and I'm not intimidated by putting sentences
words
down.
to paper.
Right, that's fine. If that's not your jam, then find another way. But the ability to show that this thing we had talked about, that I could go off and learn about it myself and get enough information that I could kind of explain it back to him. And then we were starting from a more equal footing in talking about that thing, because I wasn't coming at him with total ignorance and having no clue of what it was about, and having to depend on him to tell me what it even was that the thing was before we could even negotiate, is this something we want to try? So it was a great way to sort of play with submission, because he would assign the task. He would say, go off and do this thing as my dom, and as happy little submissive, it was like, oh, give me something to do. That was great, but also I learned more, could be more informed, could give better had better ability to give enthusiastic consent.
Yes.
See what I mean?
All of the above.
So for anybody out there who, how do we start our power exchange? Dom, assign a thing you want your sub to go learn about. Ta-da!
And you know what? Even if that is not possible, you know, if you've met somebody at a party and you're thinking about playing, you know, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, and pay attention to how they handle questions.
Yeah.
Not that they have to know all the answers.
Yeah.
How do they handle it when they are questioned about a thing? Because that'll tell you a lot about somebody.
I mean, you would think if you're negotiating with a dominant and you ask them questions, you know, they should be happy about that. That you're, you know, you want to understand more. You know, and not shoot you down for it. If they're shooting you down for asking questions, there is a problem right there.
And if they're defensive about questions, that's information, right? Again, it doesn't mean they're automatically bad. Everybody has their things that get them riled up.
Yeah.
But me personally, I want a dom who can handle the fact that I am asking questions. Now, after 12 years, somebody does have to go, whoa, time out. That's too many questions all at once. Can we do this in stages?
Yeah.
Which is fine. I've learned a little bit since then.
Excuse me.
But I've never not been allowed to ask questions. JB's never gotten defensive about me asking questions about the thing we're trying to do together.
Right.
The kink or the power exchange, doesn't matter. So if a person gets defensive, that's just information to take in, right? Yeah. If they're not willing to say, I don't know, please pay attention to that, because you want a partner who can admit they don't fucking know something and are willing to go learn about it. Okay? Because the partner, dom or sub, that fakes that they have the information, that is an unsafe person to be playing with, because that means they're going to move forward with a lack of information to do a thing with you. So not only are they not fully informed, you're not fully informed about their knowledge level. It's bad all the way around. Can y'all see why this is such a big topic? We have spent all this time just on the informed part of informed and enthusiastic. So let's talk about enthusiasm.
Woohoo!
Especially in the very beginning of a relationship, of an experience, of a scene, until you develop the long-term trust and communication that can create a shorthand and a nuance we're going to talk about in a minute. Anything less than enthusiastic should be a timeout, should be a pause, should be a no. Consider it a no until you take a beat. If a person hesitates, even if they're fully informed, then it's not an enthusiastic hell yes. If they are unsure, if you are a person who knows how to read their body language and their facial expressions, because that is a skill that tends to have to be learned, and that's not, hell yeah, let's go. The bare minimum you can do is pause and go, wait, is this what you want to do? Personally, I would rather my partner misread my facial expression and body language because I'm not being verbal enough to go, hell, fuck yeah, let's go. And stop for a minute to go, I'm not sure, is this a hell yeah right now? Because
what's resonating with you at the moment?
Right. Like, do you want to be doing this? Because the very real thing that can happen, especially from the submissive side, is coercion. And sometimes it's definitely done on purpose because people can be predators. And sometimes it's ignorance is bliss. Well, they didn't say no. They didn't use their safe word. Yeah, but they went completely stiff and stopped speaking to you or looking you in the eye, and that wasn't part of your play, right? Like, some people will use that to their advantage in a grotesque and abusive way. Some people will miss the cues. So, if you know you're a person who could even possibly miss a cue, the rule of thumb is stop what the fuck you're doing.
Right.
And that's part, to me, that's part of the negotiation. You're negotiating your power exchange. You're like, we're going to do some kink scenes. Here's what needs to go down. And either one of you can bring this up. If I'm not saying, hell, fuck yeah, it's not a hell yeah. It's not enthusiastic. Put it out there between each other. Like, what, doms, ask your submissive partner, what does enthusiasm look like? When you're like down to whatever the fuck we're going to do, is there a way I'm going to know? Can you say these words? What is our verbal signal? What is our physical signal? Like, what's the sign? And then if you don't...
Okay, let's do this.
I mean, some people are Eeyore-like people, and I might not read that as your enthusiastic yes, so let me know. There's nothing wrong with getting that explicit in your negotiations, down to the, how do I know this is a hell yeah, you're ready to proceed forward.
Now, I'm going to play devil advocate and throw something at you here.
Okay.
What happens when you get that, hell yeah, let's do that, but this person, the person you're negotiating with, either is going through NRE, that they're having some serious new relationship energy, or they're going through sub-frenzy.
So, on one side, we are all fucking adults here, and if an adult has been informed as much as they possibly can be, and they're saying hell yeah, they're responsible for themselves. That being said, dominance, here's part of the reason you have so much fucking privilege. Here's the fucking responsibility of being the dom. If you suspect that your partner is enthusiastically hell yeah-ing a thing that they are not prepared for, that they are not educated enough on, that they haven't done the small basics of yet, then you need to be the one saying, we're going to slow this down a little bit, okay? Because is it possible in a power exchange that the submissive comes to the dom with this crazy enthusiasm, and they're just hyped up about this thing, and it's like, I would like you to stick 20 needles in my back tonight, and you've never even read about needle play, let alone tried it, right? Like, if the frenzy or the new relationship energy is at that level where a submissive partner is not even looking after their own health and safety, somebody's got to do it for them. Yeah. Now, here's this, I don't know if scary is the right word, that might be too loaded. Here's the part that makes me, as an outside observer who's seen people do some shady shit, nervous. Submissives, sometimes you got into that frenzy because you thought you never submit to anybody, and here came this little air quote one who said all the right words and they're kind of doing all the right things, and you were so excited to submit that you cannot fucking tell that they do not have your best interests at heart. And they're like, why, yes, I will put splinters under your fingernails because you saw it on a Reddit somewhere. Sure. And they're not stopping you from your own craziness, right? Like, that is a very real possibility. And it's the danger of sub-frenzy, of any frenzy. Doms can get their own kind of frenzy because that excitement at finally getting to do the thing can cloud judgment. Does it cloud everybody's judgment? No. Does it cloud everybody's judgment in a dangerous way? No. But it can, and you have to be aware of it.
You have to be aware of it, yeah.
So that hopefully you can mitigate it before it happens. And if not, then that you could, at some point in the middle of it, go, this all feels nutso to me. Am I being safe? Am I taking care of myself? Like, some thought can penetrate your brain and you go, wait, did I really ask that person to just drag me around the house by my hair for 20 minutes? Is that what I just asked for? Like, we all have our own level of what is just too fucking out there, and clearly y'all know mine now. So enthusiasm is the gold standard, yes. But yes, you're right. Sometimes enthusiasm is danger, Will Robinson. Danger. And that's the tough part. Yeah. There's a balancing act there.
And Rara brought up a good point. You know, enthusiasm can look different for everybody.
Absolutely. That's why I go back to you have to have that conversation. Right. Especially if you are a person who's been in more than one power exchange, or you're doing this for the first time and you are listening to us, okay? In the conversation, in the negotiation with a new partner, talk about what enthusiasm looks like. Yeah. What does that mean for you? Are you going to be like super hyped up?
What gets you excited? What is it like when you get excited?
How will I know that this is something you really want to be doing? Are there specific things? Are there ways that you get excitement and show excitement? Absolutely. I don't think there's anything wrong with having that conversation. Probably more often than not, it's going to be sort of obvious, but not always. Most people, I think, kind of know themselves well enough. Is it maybe an awkward conversation to have. Yeah, but you know what? You're already going to let a person you maybe are just getting to know do things to you that in other contexts would get the police called on you. So maybe have the awkward conversation.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. Get awkward. Some of us wear our hearts on our sleeves, and they knew what our enthusiasm looked like before we ever got to negotiations. It was not a secret. It was not hard to read. It was not demure. It was not cutesy. It was not mindful.
She is not demure.
She's a goblin. But that's the thing. And this kind of bleeds into my next point, that there can come a time in a power exchange relationship where you can give full consent. It's fully informed, you are willing, and it's not enthusiastic. And that can be okay. It is a delicate balance. It is not for the newbie. And I mean the newbie, whether that's a new relationship or y'all been married 20 years, but you've been doing DS for 5 minutes, right? Like, two types of newbies, both newbies. Until your communication is solid, right? Like you have overcome the they should just know what I want bullshit, or the they never listen to me anyway, so I'm not gonna tell them what's going on. Like the old unhelpful communication styles many of us bring with us into kink. Until you have displaced that and that relationship is rock fucking solid, enthusiastic, hell yeah, is ideal. Just go with it. JB and I are at a point in our relationship, and have been for several years, that I can consent to things and I am not enthusiastic about them. I'm not. I'm willing. I know what I'm getting myself into. I know what it's going to be like. But there's no hell yeah. There's more like, I love you so much. Can you just finish this up now? Have a good time. I'm doing it for you. And that gets to be okay, right? Like, that's the fine line between coercion and I don't want this moment, but you know what I do want? I want the intimacy. I want the connection. I want, and this is both a danger zone and not a bad thing at all. Again, nuance. I want to know that I did that for my partner. I can be that way because 99% of the time, the consent is enthusiastic, because I'm not being made to feel guilty if I don't. He could want to do a thing. Free use in our relationship is a thing. He could want to do a thing, and if I really didn't want to do it, I know and will use the freedom I have to go, I love you so much, but no, not tonight. Red, or whatever I need to say that, like, you know, he understands completely what I'm saying. Right. I know I have that freedom, and there will be no repercussions. I don't have to worry about the state of our relationship if I withdraw consent from that, right? So that means I then am free to be unenthusiastic with my consent.
And then at the same time, you know, as her dominant, there are times I have to gauge where, you know, she'll say, you know, yeah, it's okay, we can do that, but you know, you've had a headache, you know, your stomach's not doing so great, right. You know, and then I have to make the decision, you know, should I, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
You know, and make that call one way or the other.
And that goes back to another layer of being informed. We do have a form of free use and consensual non-consent in our power exchange baked in. The reason we can do that, and we did not start off that way. No, we didn't start off that way. Not. I mean, it was fairly early on when we lived together, but it wasn't like immediate. But we can do that because he knows I'm going to tell him I got a headache, I'm feeling sick, my mental health is bad. Like he knows I'm going to tell him what's going on with me, and I know that he's going to use that information and go, okay, the responsible thing to do is to let her ass sleep over there and not wake her up with my dick, okay? And here's the thing, and immature players, immature kinksters do the, oh no, I'll have to miss out on this thing I really want, and I'd rather just push forward and have dubious consent or none at all, and then play the, but you didn't call red, right? Because I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. Thinking that you won't get the opportunity again. You want to know how you get the opportunity to play again? You respect your fucking partner and go, nothing about that's going to be enthusiastic or responsible, so I'll just hold off.
What have I said time after time after time on this podcast? You don't break your toys. You don't break your toys. You break them, you can't play with them.
You don't break them physically. You don't break them mentally. You don't break their trust. You safeguard that. You go, I've been dominant. I've been given this authority, this power, this control, and this responsibility, right? I want to get to do kinky things with my partner tomorrow. So maybe I will consider their well-being today.
Right. Yep.
And that is how I can give, Rara said it in a good way in the live chat, sincere but unenthusiastic consent. Yeah. I promise you, there are some times when I've been like, oh, yeah, I feel his dick a knocking. Okay, we're doing this. Okay. Am I okay enough for that? Yeah, I'm okay enough for this. Okay, here we go. And I'm like, I'm not screaming and hanging from the rafters. I'm just like, sure, it's cool. Let's do this. By the end of it, I'm like, you know what? That was nice. That was nice to have done this together. But you work up to that with the right partner. And for anybody who has kind of had to do the dating around and hasn't found what feels like your forever person, right? Whether you're going to marry him or not, or live together with him or not, but that's a person you keep coming back to. If you haven't found that person, I get it's difficult to know, is this person the right one? You don't start out the gate with, allowing yourself to have sincere and enthusiastic consent. You start with the no as a complete word. How did they respond to that? Yeah. You start with the you only want to do this when you are enthusiastic about it and your consent is clear, when it's like, it's fucking go time. Let's go. Let's do this thing, right? Because it's in the times when you have to air quote this because it's not real, disappoint your partner, that you kind of see who they really fucking are. The mature people who are capable of handling like their own fucking, grown-up feelings go, oh, okay, yeah, I'm minorly disappointed, but I want you to be happy, healthy, and safe. So this is fine. Oh, you need more information? Let's go on the journey together of learning about it more so you're more comfortable. Oh, you have questions? Maybe I can answer them. Maybe I can point you in the direction of somebody who can. Those responses to when you are not enthusiastically consenting can give you the information you need to know, could this person become a person where I can unenthusiastically consent, or we can play with free use and consensual non-consent, if that's even your jam. Let's be very clear here. You don't have to like it. You don't have to want it. It's not a requirement of power exchange to play with consensual non-consent and free use. Do many people do it? Sure. Do some people like it as an aspect of this is the trust and devotion I have to this partner? Maybe. But it's not a requirement. And if you're not into it, don't do it. Simple as that. And I didn't quite know what I meant when I said in my notes, consensual non-consent isn't a binary. I think what I meant by that is some people believe consensual non-consent means that the dom can just come up to their partner at any point and do what the fuck they want with them, toss them on the ground and walk out the door. Or it's not that, like that it's a black and white thing. Yeah. And we have found that free use, which is part of consensual non-consent, we did a whole episode on that. I believe that was episode 380. Can be very subtle and it can be very nuanced. Yeah. Ours is JB can technically come up to me and do within my own boundaries whatever the fuck he wants at any fucking point, which is how I get woken up with dick sometimes. But the reality of that is just because he can doesn't mean he will.
Right.
And that's the thing you want to pay attention to if you're going to navigate that kind of consent in your power exchange. The responsibility the dom takes on and handles about just because they can, they don't, right? There are too many out there who put on the little hat and call themselves a little domly dom, say all the right words, at least online, where they can use Chat GPT probably at this. Actually, you know what? That's the one good thing I'll say about AI. None of them are kink friendly. They will not give somebody the script. Okay. You're going to have to learn it the old-fashioned way, the rest of the posers did, and go infiltrate kink spaces.
Oh, God.
Anyway, I mean, I don't want that either, but you know what I mean? At least it's not as easy as Chat GPT. But they'll say all the right things, but they will then say the things of, well, I'm the dom, so I can do what I want. Those are not the people we're going to play consensual non-consent with, y'all, because you can't trust them. You can't trust them to go, wow, my partner is over there throwing up in the toilet and has shitting at the same time with cold sweats. I'm a little turned on, but maybe now is not the time to go, shove my dick in their mouth or whatever, right? Like, and did I use the dick? Yes, because does it tend to be cis men? Yes. Not always. Not all. But enough. So, you're going to look for, is this a person who can handle the minor disappointment? Who cares more about your well-being than their needs? Air quote, needs, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And that's how you can play fast and loose with what consent looks like. Like, you can do the, sure, wake me up by, yanking me out of the bed by my hair. Because I know that when it's bad or when there's something going on or when that's not a good time, you will respect that. You will be aware of it. I don't have to necessarily tell you that maybe tonight when we go to bed at 11 and I have to wake up at 3 because that's what my job makes me be there by 5, please don't wake me up that way, because you've got enough sense of responsibility as a dom to go, that's not going to be good for them. So we won't do that. Right. I didn't know this episode would just be an excuse for me to rant at all the bullshitters out there. I'm sorry. I wasn't. Do you have anything else you want to say about consensual non-consent?
No.
We have done episodes on them, so they're there if you want to do deep dives. Here's the part we've kind of been talking about, but let's end here on consent and power exchange. Withdrawing consent whenever the fuck you need to.
Yeah.
I don't care how you coordinate your power exchange. I don't care if you call it total power exchange. I don't care if it's micromanaged power exchange. There had better be a fucking mechanism for either partner to withdraw consent. That mechanism might look different depending on your dynamic, right? The more master slave, total micromanaged down to like every minute of the day, couldn't be me, dynamic won't have the same way of withdrawing consent necessarily that a loosey-goosey power exchange like JB and I've got, right? I can at any point, at any moment of any day, look over at him and go, red. I don't know what we're reading about, but something. Somebody else who has a very tight structure might have to use a different mechanism, but that mechanism better fucking be there.
Yeah.
I'm now yelling at y'all and I'm sorry.
Because, consent is not one and done. All right. I didn't get consent from you in the beginning of our relationship, and that is a blanket.
Every day moving forward.
For every day we are together and for everything we do. No, it doesn't work that way.
No, and that
consent is ongoing.
And that is the frustrating thing, because plenty of the air quote bullshit doms, the bad doms, the uneducated doms, the irresponsible doms, however we want to label them, will go, well, you said yes, and man, they'll fucking have the date and time memorized. Why you got to know it that well? Why? Why do you have to know the exact date and time to throw it back at a partner? Because, like you said, consent is ongoing. Each partner should be working to have, earn, maintain the consent of their partner every fucking day. Every fucking day. And I don't really care what I said on December 23rd, 2012, because what matters for my consent now is what I said on September 11th, 2024. That's what fucking matters. So if you happen to be in a dynamic and you're like, I don't know, am I kind of being treated like shit? How does a partner handle it when you go, no, I don't want to do this. No, I don't like this anymore. This isn't working for me. And this doesn't have to be the whole relationship. It can just be this one thing you've been doing for a hot minute. Right? there are so many signs and ways, and sometimes you don't know them until hindsight and you're learning from bad shit that's happened. But there are so many signs that most shitty partners will give off. Most of them are not as smart as they think they are, okay? They're not as good as they think they are. Sometimes we're just not paying as close attention as we eventually learn how to do. And a good, clear sign of whether you should be in a power exchange with them at all is how they handle it when you have to tell them, this thing we've been doing, it's not working for me. That is true of both sides of the slash. Mm-hmm. I don't care what you negotiated on day one and consented to on day one. You get to redetermine what you're consenting to every fucking day after. And that's the dom and the sub. Now, the dom has it's less overt most of the time with most dominants, because if they don't want to do something, they just don't do it, right? I think the only time we've
Neener can't make me do it.
Right. I think the only time we've ever had a conversation where you've sort of formally withdrawn consent is when it was something we did negotiate and we did say, hey, we're going to do these things, and you kind of had to go, yeah, that's not working for me, right? We needed to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. Doms, if you don't want to do anything anymore that you've previously said you would do, please do not just stop doing it.
No.
Have a conversation.
Have the conversation.
Okay?
Yeah.
Your boundaries matter and important, but leaving your partner hanging and wondering what the hell's going on when their expectation was this and now you've changed things, it's all going to get fucked up.
That's just like as the kids were growing up, and the one still is kind of, that is something that we always talk to them about, because it even starts there. Kids are not always happy with the rules.
God knows.
And sometimes the kids, they rather ask for forgiveness than permission.
Oh yeah, one definitely. Thank God he's an adult now.
Right.
Do what you want.
So and always tried to make a point impressing the kids, all right, you were not happy with this, rule and the thing, and everything that went along with it. Not up to you to just stop and change. You need to talk about this.
Right. Use your words.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, Doms, you've got to be able to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. I do think Doms, I don't want to say easy. That's, I don't like that word, but I think it can be simpler for a Dom. It's why we don't talk enough about Doms also being allowed to have safe words, right? A safe word is not a foolproof mechanism with which to withdraw consent, but it is a tool, should be one of many. Yes, we tend to talk about it for the submissive or the bottom because they are on the receiving end of whatever is happening, and it is very easy for things to go bad and there to be a danger situation, right? Yes.
Yeah.
But dominants get to safe word out. The difference is that dominants tend to, I think only once that I can think of you actually safe worded. Most of the time you just stop. You're just done. And I'm like, well, I could have gone for another hour. And you're like, that's lovely. I couldn't. We're done now.
Yeah.
And that's the control you have. But what gets lost in that sometimes is the communication about it.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, plenty of people are not dissimilar to me and we'll make up our own story in our head about why you stopped doing the thing. And we'll forget to go ask you why you stopped doing. And so now we've worked ourselves up. But when all you got to do is talk to your submissive.
And here's another little caveat. And I throw this in here because this is something you and I experienced. When a partner is unable to give consent, all right? And I'm talking about this in the fact that we're already in a scene, okay? And you have been so far under in subspace.
I'm not even speaking anymore.
You cannot speak. And when I ask you for a color, you could not respond.
Right.
And at that point, I was like, we're done.
And sometimes
everything ends.
And depending on the situation, sometimes everything ends. And that's in that moment we were at the club.
Yeah.
If I wasn't responding, scene was over. Move on. Let somebody else have the space. At home, I might come back to myself. We might have a conversation. You kind of have that lull sometimes, and then you start back up again.
Yeah.
That's another thing with consent specific to kink scenes. It's not specific to power exchange. All kinksters should have some version of this.
Right.
This goes back to enthusiastic consent. When in doubt, fucking check in a scene. If you are sometimes it's if you're uncertain, doms out there, and sometimes it's like, well, I think I know what's going on, but it's good to like just take the temperature of the situation, right?
Yeah.
Like if I go quiet, that's the time to check in. I'm either zoned out, feeling real good, or I'm unable to like say words now. But it doesn't have to be this stop everything, turn, air quote, kill the mood, and have an interrogation about where your partner's at. It is as simple as we do a color system.
Yeah.
Because my safe word is red. He'll say, give me a color. And if I'm enthusi-fucking-astic about it, I don't think that's where that...
Green!
Oh, I'll tell you, forest green, hunter green,
Every shade
dark
of green there is.
pine tree green, right? That depends on how playful I'm feeling. Because sometimes I really like the scene, but I really wish he'd stop hitting me with that one thing. And so I'll say like greeny yellow, yellowy orange. Like I get creative with it.
You do.
Which for us feeds into our dynamic because it's playful and it's silly and whatever.
Yes.
But he can do it sexy. He can do it. We don't role play because that's the quickest way to give me the ick. But if you're doing like a role play, like there's a scene, like there's script and choreography and maybe costumes, you can keep it in character. Like I don't know how, because I have the ick thinking about it, y'all. But you'll figure it out. I have no doubt. You'll figure it out. You can stay in character. You can keep the tone of the mood. Ours just tends to be very sadistically playful. Okay, I'm gonna scream and giggle when we really get to play. So yes, if he asks for a color and I'm feeling myself, he's gonna get all the shades I can think of.
Yep.
I really need to get one of those mega boxes of Crayola so I can learn. And maybe like the Pantone like catalog, so I can learn some new greens, yellows, and reds, and oranges. I mean, I think that would be delightful.
You throw a color out there that I don't know what it is, you're screwed, kid. You're screwed.
But here's the thing. Consent is a very serious thing.
Yes.
It should be taken seriously. It is the responsibility of everybody involved. That means, submissives, your dom will not just know, and that is unfair of you to expect them to. It's a skill to develop. You got to learn how to fucking say the thing you got to say. If verbalizing things is difficult, you figure out the tools that work best. Ideally, you figure out what the signals are of like what it would mean if I screamed out hunter green or forest green in a scene before you scene. You have these fucking awkward conversations. They're not awkward. Once you're with a partner that you've got that intimacy and the vulnerability and the trust and you know who you're dealing with, it should not be awkward. It can be difficult. I've had difficult conversations with JB that I was like, I really don't want to have this conversation with you, but I know I can.
Yeah.
I know I'm safe to have this conversation with you, right? Once you're at that point, and that's mutual, and you're each proving to the other every day that you are a safe partner for each other, you can get goofy. You can go off the rails. You can do shit that we would never recommend to a brand new person. Like, I'm not going to tell somebody who's never seen before with this dom they met 2 weeks ago, just scream out a random color. That'll go fine. Like, no. No.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way.
But that's the thing you can develop, and you develop it with a trusted partner, somebody who's worthy of that, right? And that takes time. That really does take time. But yes, withdrawing consent has to be a factor.
Yeah.
Asking for consent, even when you're pretty sure you've got it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not diminishing in any way. It does not diminish a dominant's authority. Should not diminish their standing. It should, for them to check in. And here's the thing. For all that I'll lecture doms who think they shouldn't have to, now that certain parts of the internet have found us on Instagram, I am seeing some shit, and I am worried for some of you submissives out there. If I have to read one more comment of I shouldn't have to say it, I'm gonna lose my damn mind.
Uh-oh.
Because yeah, you should have to say it. There can come a point where you may not have to actually say it anymore. Shorthand in relationships exists. That clearly needs to be a topic at some point when we're out of this series. But because I mention it so fucking often. But yeah, you do have to say it. You should say it. You better fucking say it, because it's not fair to you and it's not fair to that partner. You want to know how, and it's not foolproof because there is no foolproof, but you want to know a real quick way to weed out a shitty fucking dom who's not worth your fucking time? Start speaking up for yourself. Advocate for yourself. Tell them what the fuck you want. Most of them, if they're no good, you'll probably see the signs pretty fucking quick, because they usually... Not all of them, but some of them cannot fucking handle a submissive who knows what the fuck they want and will communicate it. Weed them out as quickly as you can. It won't get all of them, but it'll get enough of them. Also, care about your potential dom as much as you fucking care about yourself. Maybe more. Some of y'all, maybe there's some subs who don't think they should have to say the thing. Maybe they don't care about themselves as much as they should. Fucking care about the other person. If you're not telling your dom what you want, what you're trying to get out of this experience, what you want your power exchange to look like, what you want the scene to look like, what you want the sex to look like. Maybe not in the moment, but when you're negotiating it outside, how the fuck do they consent? They don't even know what the fuck they're consenting to. They don't know if they do a thing, if you want it, if it's good for you, if it's like safe for you to even experience. What the fuck are we doing? If I have to read one more... Look, I made a little... I've been making reels that are more meme focused. It delights me. People are seeing them. I get the dopamine rush from that. But on the one where I used the soundbite from, is it the movie The Notebook? I don't know. Some little blonde white actor is screaming, just tell me what you want, just tell me what you want, what do you want? And I felt that frustration on JB's behalf from early in our relationship. And a lot of people are like, yeah, I know that's really hard. And there's discussions that happen in the comment section. And there are just enough people who are like, but I shouldn't have to. I don't want to. I'm going to lose my damn mind in this. I know it can be awkward and uncomfortable. And I even know the struggle from a submissive perspective on part of, like, this is me personal. I'm not speaking for every submissive. Part of what I want as a submissive is to not have to think too fucking hard, to kind of turn my brain off and let JB lead, let JB decide. You don't get to the point where you can do that with minimal risk until you've figured out how to talk about it outside of the moment. In the moment, in the scene, I know how, at this point, I've developed the skills to safe word out pretty quickly, which I don't really have to use my safe word, to just communicate, hey, that impact there did not land where you meant it to communicate and like tweak things in the moment. It took me a while to get there. But you can't get to that without having the conversations first in the experience. And it would be awkward for me to have to turn to him in mid-scene and go, actually, you know how we talked about this like a week ago? We had that scene 2 weeks ago, but this isn't working for me right now. No, that's why you do debriefs after a scene, right? Maybe it's not the same day. Maybe it's like the next day when you're like, you've come back to yourself, where you talk about, hey, what'd you like? What didn't you like? What could we do better? What do you want to try next? How'd you feel about that? Or, hey, Friday night is our time to fucking play, and it's Thursday, and I got some shit going down. Well, on Thursday, before the scene, you talk about it. You don't have to talk about it in the moment. You can have, in a perfect world, you can have the headspace you want in the scene, but for everybody to be able to consent, to maintain consent, to withdraw consent safely, to be to mitigate the risk as much as possible. I hate to say as safe as possible because it's an impossibility. To mitigate risk as much as possible, you have to learn how to have those conversations. And it is awkward and it sucks at first until you get good at it. And I promise you, I probably filled reams of fucking paper with handwritten notes because I was too scared to say the damn words.
Because what you know, when you say
I'm just yelling at everybody.
They should know. All right.
I fucking hate
that. Then you're putting me into a guessing game. And that can't end well. So,
no.
It is important.
Because now consent is questionable.
Right.
And it's questionable on both sides. Because the other thing that I find from the type of submissive who just goes, you should know, or the other one I've been seeing on that same one, that same reel, is, but your pleasure is my pleasure. Here's the thing. That is true until they accidentally find the one thing that freaks you the fuck out.
Right.
And then guess what? Their pleasure ain't your pleasure anymore.
Or in that, step on a landmine. Okay.
And now we're dealing with a mental health crisis.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I as much as I would have liked to, I failed out on Psychic 101.
Yeah, you haven't picked the right lotto numbers yet.
No.
I mean, apparently you have to play the lotto to win it, but still.
Yeah.
Still.
So, that is not a good way to go at all.
I mean, this is not universally true, but tell me you're a new sub without telling me you're a new sub. Telling me that you want whatever they want. It's that same thing of the newbie subs who go, I have no limits.
Yeah. I mean,
you do.
Someone telling me that, well, you should just know. Okay. Or, I'll do anything.
Will you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Those are huge.
They're red flags.
Red flags.
They're red flags. And it's not a thing it's not that it's not overcomable. It usually requires more education, more understanding of how this should be operating, right?
Yeah.
And getting over the discomfort of having to say the thing that you're thinking.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that goes into why it can be difficult for people to communicate. Some of it's just lack of skill, right? Most of us aren't raised with good communication skills. Some of it is the shit you've been through in prior relationships. And that is real. That is valid. But that does not get to be the excuse you carry with you for the rest of your fucking life and still expect to have healthy relationships. Right. It's not going to fucking work. You're going to have to work through that. And now working through it is going to look different for everybody. I don't know how to tell you how to work through it. Some days I'm like, I have totally worked through it. And then I'll come across something and I'm like, why am I struggling to say the thing? Yeah. It's not that the struggle to say the thing goes away. It's the awareness that I am struggling. And that awareness is information to tell me something's going on here. And then I go and do the introspective thing of, why am I struggling? How can I get around the struggle? So I almost did it recently. Not for the way we used to. So typically, if I am physically writing out or typing out my thoughts to JB, it's because we are in conflict and we're not really hearing each other very well anymore. And I need to take the space and time to get it all out of my head, edit it, clarify it, get rid of the run-on sentences, all the ums, likes, and trains of thought that will happen when I speak, and get it as clear as I can and hand it off to him. And then let him consume that information and digest it away from me. That is typically why I will write out my thoughts and share them with JB. That is a thing we still use today. It started when it was hard for me to have conversations, right?
Yep.
Recently, I was having a moment where, and I don't even remember what it was about now. I think we solved it. It got resolved. But I was struggling to communicate. Proof that struggle does not just go away, but my awareness of the struggle is the skill I've gained. And I thought for a brief moment, oh, maybe I need to write this out, because the moment I recognized the struggle, I was like, what am I going to do about it? Do I need to have this conversation? Do I need to say this? And I was like, yeah, this seems pretty important to me. We need to have this. I need to tell him this thing, but I can't seem to get the words out. I can't seem to sit. And I think we ended up just having the conversation. I felt better about it a day or two later. But I was like, you know what I could do if I need to? I'll just write it down. So you have to find your way to work through that and work through whatever it is that holds you back from being able to communicate. Because if you cannot figure out how to fucking communicate in your power exchange, nobody is getting out of that one unscathed.
You're in deep doo-doo.
Right. You're gonna ruin something that could be great. You're gonna cause harm when you don't mean to. Right. Harm is going to be caused to you that might have been avoidable.
Yeah, a lot of things.
And you can't give or receive full consent if you cannot talk about the things that are being consented to. And you can't withdraw consent if you're not willing to speak up and say, in whatever form it takes, I withdraw consent. I don't want to do this. I don't like this. No. For me, it's red, and we actually use it in everyday conversation because, again, we need to do this topic. It's a shorthand. We know red is our safe word. Red means not just no, but hell no. Stop right now. So when we're talking about things that aren't even about kink, not about fuckery, partly because every part of our life is touched by our power exchange in some way. If he says something I don't like, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not doing that.
Red.
And he knows exactly what I mean. Now, that might mean we have a deeper conversation later. It might mean we giggle about it and we move on, and he never brings that topic up again.
Not going there again.
Right, but he does the same thing to me. I'll mention something of, hey, Daddy, would you, I'd like, and if he's a hell no, he'll go, red, what the hell? And then usually follow it up with a hell no. And we do that in our everyday communication as well, to make it clear what the fuck we mean, what that's going to look like for you, how you're going to get there, how vigorous that's going to be or not is dependent upon who you are, how you're wired, your partner, how they're wired, how that interacts together, what you find that works for both of you. But you are not going to get out of fully the never having to say the thing. Doesn't work. Does not work. You cannot give informed and enthusiastic consent if you never fucking talk about it.
True. Yeah. There you go.
I didn't know I was going to scream at y'all for an hour. I'm so sorry. I think it's because folks who, even if you're still in that stage of figuring it out, practicing the skills, navigating the stuff that's difficult, most responsible adults fucking get it. But we see just enough of folks who don't want to, wish they didn't have to, refuse to learn the importance of communication in order to be able to give and receive full consent, that it's frustrating because it's dangerous. Like, it's probably my literal brain, but when I think about safety and risk, I forget that we all have our own level of how much risk we can accept. And so if I say something's risky, I forget that people don't, some people will go, that's too small of a risk for me to care about. And also that's too much of a risk for me to move forward. I tend to be it's too much of a risk for me to move forward. I forget that there's all this nuanced risk, and I'm like, that's risky, be careful. And I know that there are some people out there who are they're raw dogging life in a way that I could never, right? They're like, yeah, sure, there's a risk. I don't actually care. But you know what? That I could not imagine. I don't think that's safe. I don't think that's best practice. But if you can have that full conversation with a partner and explain your thinking, and they can accept that thinking, and you're both those fucking risk takers together, just okay. But yeah. So anyway, my throat now hurts. Okay. I think I sucked down all my Diet Coke.
Oh, yeah, you did. Put the big block of ice in there now.
I know. I will say we really, truly only touched on high points and main big points of the consent conversation, because it is involved and it is nuanced, and it can be nuanced. So if you're like, yeah, but I have thoughts about blah, or what about blah, the links to all the times we've so far talked about consent since 2015 are in the places, and feel free to deep dive and get more information or get more perspective or whatever. The one thing, and it didn't really fit here, but I'm kind of thinking of, right before we started streaming, Evie's latest video popped up in my feed, and I did not watch it, so I'm paraphrasing my memory of what it was about. But basically, it was sort of this commentary on a lot of things that I too am seeing online about people just acting like we're not, people involved in kink can't possibly consent to things, and everything is too dangerous, and everything is air quote abuse, because it's impossible to consent to things, and these are things that reasonable people absolutely can and do consent to. And that's the other side of the consent conversation, that there will absolutely be people that you know, that you come across, that strangers and randos will tell you that you are not allowed to consent to something, and that is a frustrating part of the experience. And it's going to give you practice at ignoring people whose opinions do not matter.
Right.
My first rule of that is, do you help me pay the mortgage? Did you take my kid to a doctor's appointment? Do you even know my legal name and my phone number to text me? Your opinion does not matter that much, so not worried about it. But it takes a while to get there, too.
Yeah.
But that's the other part where we're working so hard, and we as the kink community, we as us, y'all out there in your own relationships, we're working so hard to make sure that we're establishing consent, we're maintaining consent, we're being as ethical and risk aware as we can humanly possibly be, and there will still be some part of the world that will infantilize us so much that you can't possibly consent to that. And that's a different conversation. Go watch Evie's video, y'all. I'm pretty sure she has said very intelligent things about it. I will just sound like a rambly train wreck. None of us need more of that until next week, at least. So, yeah. But yeah, this is a big topic. So
It is.
Anyway.
Anywho's.
I guess we should do a bonus section now.
Okay. So, are we good now?
Oh, no. Give me another hour. Rant.
I'll
keep going. I'll keep going. I'll get my blood pressure up some other way. That's
all right.
fine.
Time to be done then.
Okay.
Okay. You ready?
Sure. Keep it
kinky, y'all.
See you next week. Do I try that again?
Try that again.
Are you going to edit it out?
No.
Damn. Okay.
Keep it kinky, y'all.
And we'll see you next week.
Yes.
Can we talk to the crickets?
Yes.
See, here's the thing. He was listening for my intake of breath, and I was listening for his intake of breath, and we weren't breathing at the same rate.
No, we weren't. You're off on a tangent all your own right now, kid.
Look, I warned you.
I know.
The brain is doing, I don't know.
I know.
And maybe it was good. So, okay. Did I mention this at the top of anything? I can't remember. So if it's a repeat, just know I'm a repeater. My trying to speak earlier was very difficult because I was trying so hard to hold on to the thought before it could like fly away that I wasn't taking a breath in the middle of a rambly thought that I was expressing. And so I would get to the ends of multiple thoughts and then could not breathe and was gasping breath. And I was very worried about this episode because, one, I care about doing this series well, and two, I care about this topic and trying to do it, air quote, well. So I got real nervous that I was going to just be gasping my way through I should have realized that I get gaspy when I rant. And that's okay. That's part of the rant. And that I should have realized this topic was going to make me rant because when it comes to consent, here's the thing. When everybody's doing it to the best of their ability and it's mostly working okay for everybody, there's not much to talk about. Yeah, you're doing consent well. Woohoo, keep going. But man, when people fuck it up, there's a lot to rant about. Just saying. So anyway, bonus section time. The 14-year-old is now the 15-year-old.
Yeah.
And every time I tell somebody else, like, I reminded his older brother, your brother is 15 now. He's like, no, the fuck he's not. And I'm like, yeah, the fuck he is. Y'all all just keep growing up. I don't know what that's about. Or reminiscing with my mom about when the 15-year-old was like a mere infant. It's like, what the fuck? Where's time going?
Right.
Now he's the tallest human in this house.
Which does come in handy for some things.
Does come in handy.
Yep.
I think he's in a mostly good place mentally and physically now for the school year, so that's nice. He is waiting on part of his birthday present. My poor mother. She's okay. So it's a ha-ha family tradition we laugh about. You know, my mother and I, we're going to be late with birthdays, presents for Christmas, whatever. Like we know we know they exist. We have them written down in 80 places, but time has no fucking meaning. And the calendar gets away from us. So she has, since she retired, and, you know, the thing that consumed most of her thought process, her 60-hour plus a week job, is done. She has made it a point to try to be, if not early for gift-giving times, on time. So I sent her some info about what the kid had asked for and would like as gifts. And she ordered one thing like a full week and a half, 2 weeks before his birthday. It didn't have to be custom made. It was like, buy it, ship it. It's there in a few days. It doesn't arrive. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, I'm positive. I go check with JB. I'm like, you didn't hide a thing in a closet waiting for me to wrap it? Nope. So she goes and checks her tracking. She's like, it shows that it should have been there on the 3rd, or that it was there on the 3rd. And I'm like, no, we did not get anything on the fucking 3rd. So then she starts sending me the actual tracking information, and I look. It got returned to sender and received by said sender on the 9th. And we're like, what the hell happened? I was like, we've been getting mail misdelivered to us that's not our package. We've had some replacement mail carriers. Our person has been back the past couple of days, thank God. And so, like, JB's had to drive down somebody's, like, food order down the street. Yeah. Our neighbor's medication came in the mail. It was in our mailbox. We're like, let's get that to her really quickly. So I was like, did somebody get our mail? And instead of just driving it up the fucking block to us, they just returned to sender. Maybe. Then, late... not last night before last, sometime. I look, she sends me the email she's got with like the full information. And I finally look and I'm like, fuck, our zip code's wrong. She'd been filling out the information, and my aunt and uncle also live in the same town we live in, but we have 2 different zip codes. Her autofill on the form put in our zip code. And so I'm sure the post office is who returned it. So then she's emailing this customer support and CCing me. She's like, this is a birthday present for my grandson, and I just want to get it to him, and whatever we have to do, I'll pay whatever. And I'm like, you are not a good negotiator. So now they've said it can take up to 2 weeks to reprocess and resend out. And she just keeps apologizing. It's fine. It happens. It's no big deal. Well, now the 15-year-old's like, well, will you at least tell me what my present is? I'm like, nope. No, it's got to be a surprise. It looks like his birthday card from his grandmother might also have been lost in the mail. She sent that last Tuesday or Wednesday.
Oh, gosh.
And she's only a couple states over. It does not take a week for an envelope to get to us.
No.
So, yeah, I was like, thank God we managed to... Did we wrap his birthday present? No, but the box was, like...
massive.
Half as big as JB. Like, it's huge. It came up to your waist. It was huge. Took 2 of us to carry it in. And we're like, we love you. Happy birthday. We were not wrapping this thing. He got a gaming chair. He's very excited. Yeah. I sat in that thing today.
Did you?
A chair with support? What? I don't even remember what that's like.
I have to try it. I may have to try it at some point.
Yeah, the youngest has spent most of his life getting hand-me-downs, mostly from his brother. And his brother has spent, up until like probably high school years, getting hand-me-downs from us. So what would happen, and the reason he got a gaming chair for his birthday was the like office desk chair that he had been using in his bedroom was your old chair.
It was my old chair that had been handed down to the oldest, and then when the oldest went on to college, then it got passed down to the
and I think
youngest.
We've had that chair for at least as long as we've lived together, maybe maybe longer. So at least a decade. So he finally got his own chair that never had anybody's butt in it but his until I sat down in it. Well, That's fine. Yeah. So yeah, it was funny, but so we keep things low key. He is that kid after my own heart. You're not singing happy birthday to him. He's like, I will leave this space and we will forget that it's my birthday. Do not sing
I tried
me.
to tell him, okay, you don't want to sing. What about spoken word?
I know. And I did ask him, I'm like, can I say the happy birthday song to you? Because I don't
Happy
like
birthday to you.
Right. He's going to do a dramatic retelling. I'm like, I'll just say the words. Because the thing is, I don't like being sung to either. Like, I want to scream. It's almost maybe as bad, worse than, it depends on the day, as hearing the sound of chewing. Like, it's right up there with like just a nightmare to my ears. So I get it and I respect it. But it's like, this is a birthday? Okay, it's his birthday and he's happy and that's all that matters. But yeah, so now he's fucking 15. Jesus Christ, he's 15.
Yeah.
Oh, we got this gaming chair on sale from Staples.
Yeah.
The sale, I think, runs through the month of September if anybody's looking for a chair. It was $130. We technically could have found it online cheaper, but then all the places that were cheaper,
With
the shipping made it more, and I was like, we'll just go to Staples.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think it was like regular, almost 200.
I think so, yeah. Yeah. So if anybody's looking for one, but yeah, so we did the birthday thing. Been working. I did take half a day off. It was like every thought I had was like thinking through mud, and I was like, let me just do the things I have to do.
Yeah.
Let's take advantage of the fact that we work for ourselves. Let's just do that for once, without the guilt of shouldn't I always be producing every moment of every day. One day I'll go to therapy for that. What else?
It's kind of been it.
Yeah. Yeah, so Master Frostbite in live chats, like we have a restaurant here called Montana's. They will put moose antlers on your head and sing happy birthday. In our family, if we happen to actually go out to eat on our birthdays, we threaten each other with physical harm if somebody's like, this is such and such's birthday. Like, you're not putting a sombrero on my head at the Mexican restaurant.
I was going to say, yeah, there's the one Mexican restaurant here by us. They have the birthday sombrero.
And then I don't need to be perceived that much. I don't want strangers to sing at me. I don't want to be in that. That sounds like a nightmare. No. And there have been times JB would tease and go, I'll tell him it's your birthday. I'm like, I will pull my driver's license out and prove you a liar. Don't mess with me. Red, okay? I do not fucking consent to that. Oh my God. Like, I get a little sweaty just even thinking about it. No. There were, when I lived up in the Panhandle, there was a restaurant. It was a locally owned restaurant. It was one of those that, like, in the 80s and 90s, had been, like, the best place in town. And by the early aughts, it kind of was looking its age. But, you know, it was still a respected place in town. We would go for, like, corporate stuff. And if they knew it was your birthday, they like to do what a lot of restaurants do, is come out in a big old long train of servers, clapping their hands and singing. I was like, but they would always end the happy birthday song with, and many more at Coach and Four. That's the name of the restaurant, is Coach and Four. And so we did enough things with that restaurant that I heard that little tail end of the song often enough that for literal years, if I was part of a group that was singing happy birthday, of which I hate to be singing happy birthday, but sometimes
you automatically added that.
People would be looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, look, they had great steak. They were overly enthusiastic about your birthday. Yeah, no. I look back at a time in my life. I'm like, yeah, I did used to participate in group singing, and you could sing happy birthday to me, and I hated it, but I would smile real big. And now I'm at a point in my life, I'm like, I'm not faking it. I fucking hate that shit. Don't do it. I don't care how happy it makes you.
All right.
Anyway,
Yep.
Yeah. So that was that, and this is us, and
Here we are.
Lola is fully on her back. Her jowls are hanging in such a way because gravity
Legs are up in the
that
air.
you can see all her little teethies. She is a goofball and precious.
And very comfortable.
And I think she's staring at us like, do you see me? Do you see me? Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right.
We can go and do our thing. And hopefully me yelling at some folks, has been helpful. And if not helpful, at least entertaining. We'll be back next week.
Do it again.
Yup.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.